Good evening, everyone. Today, 106 Sunday Sahityak Satsang, the iSPELL is celebrating. And on this occasion, we are joined by today's keynote speaker, Dr. Kshamata Chaudhary, coordinator of iSPELL. Also, we are joined by Dr. Sabreen Ahmed, who is chairing the session. And we are joined by Nurul Huda, the Master of Ceremonies. I warmly welcome the chairperson, keynote speaker, and master of ceremonies. Also, I warmly welcome executive committee members of iSPELL and the August gatherings. To start, Indian Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature, founded by Professor G.A. Ghanshyam, is an academic platform for students, research scholars, teachers, and professors of English language and literature. iSPELL has an expandable plan to establish forums in various parts of India to start quality-based publication and to work for the progress of students and teachers, considering the need and expectations of the fraternity. iSPELL will be organizing seminars and conferences soon in offline mode in collaboration with universities and colleges across India. To date, Society's network has spanned in Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Tripura, Rajasthan, South Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Assam. And the establishment of forums have proved how they are contributing in the said field under the independent leadership of respective forums executive committee, General Secretary, President, Vice President, Joint Secretary, and the esteemed members of the society have their combined efforts and contribution for the progress of iSPELL. Also today, I am delighted to introduce today's Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Nurul Huda. A vibrant, promising and visionary, Nurul Huda is a research scholar in English at Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. He is Masters in English from Guru Ghasidas University, Bilaspur. Currently, he works as guest faculty and has participated and presented research papers in national and international seminars and conferences. He coordinated postgraduate lecture series and webinars under iSPELL Chhattisgarh Forum. His active participation brings out his immense contribution in the progress of iSPELL Chhattisgarh Forum. Thank you. I warmly welcome and invite Mr. Nurul for the further proceeding. Please, over to you, Nurul.
Thank you very much for this wonderful words for the welcome. Very good afternoon, one and all present here. And to those also who are watching us on YouTube also. With great enthusiasm, I, Nurul Huda, cordially welcome you all the respective chairs, dignitaries, and participants to this 106th Sunday Sahityak Satsang powered by iSPELL. That means Indian Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature, iSPELL. iSPELL is actually a people's platform, and it's been a long journey that started in 5th September 2020 during the lockdown period, when a visionary person who has been leading us through the 2 or 3 consecutive years, more than 2 consecutive years to the whole English academia online. To quote or unquote esteemed Dr. J. Ghanshyam sir, that pan academic, he has been leading us, and the Despite his motto, facilitate to elevate, the pan academic is being fulfilled through various, you know, seminars and webinars, along with the many uh, collaborative works with different universities and colleges across India and abroad also. Now, without much ado, I would like to introduce our topic today, and it's very wonderful topic, that is memory, time, and narratives in women writings. So to have a great talk on this, I'm going to invite our uh, speaker, today's honorable speaker. And before I hand over the stage to her, to that respected and esteemed madam, let me introduce her first. Dr. Kshamata Chaudhary is head Department of English in School of Social Sciences and Humanities and Director of Research Department. She graduated from Sophia College, Ajmer, and obtained her PhD from Kota Open University in 2002. She completed her doctorate on a comparative study of formal and informal methods of teacher education in teaching English. She has served as director of Center for Research in Distance Education, VMOU, Kota, wherein she organized many workshops, conferences, and seminars. She has been awarded Rajasthan Leadership Award 2012 for her contribution in the field of education. Her teaching and research areas include post-colonial literature, Indian literature, Commonwealth literature, Dalit literature, contemporary Canadian literature, and many more. Recently, she introduced 3 certificate programs also for the academia, for the students. And one of the most important thing, I must say, that she has presented papers at national, she has not only presented, but also published many articles in national and international journals, and presented papers in conferences and seminars in India, as well as abroad. So let's listen to her, the valuable lecture and the deliberation. Ma'am, over to you, please.
Thank you. I'm really indebted to iSPELL for giving me this opportunity to be part of this 106th Sunday Sahitya Satsang, and wherein our event coordinator is Pramod Dingle sir, who has been the backbone along with Ghansham sir to strive our iSPELL in the black and white form. And we are happy to, very happy to announce also to whoever is hearing me, our audiences and all, that we have been registered, and we'll be, you can say, we'll be hosting a very important, you can say, an moment wherein we'll be showing you that our society is registered. So it's, I think it's the work of our Honorable Secretary and Pramod Dingle sir, IT Coordinator, iSPELL, who has done wonderful work. And we hope that in future too, as many academicians can join us and be part of iSPELL. I thank the Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Narul Huda, for introducing me. Thank you, Narul. And I also thank our chairperson, Sabreen Ahmed ma'am, for giving me this platform and being chairing this session so that I can voice out what I have, you can say, seen and gone through. So today, today's topic is memory, time, and narratives. And especially I focused into, you can say, women writing. I have today's lecture I have divided into 2 parts. One is the theoretical part, that is, what do you mean by memory, time, and narratives, how they play a very important role in writings, whether they are, you can say, age-gone writers or the time gone where we have read in our English literatures and all, and the special focus on the women Indian writers who took this and who have penned down their memories, and they have utilized whatever time lapse they have, whatever the nostalgia they have, into the narratives in their writings. Memory in literature. The word memory comes from Latin memoria, MMO, meaning mindful or remembering. Memory is a faculty which plays a very important role in the lives of human beings, and it seems to become obstructive in certain acute hours of personal history. In literature, the phantom of memory becomes apparent in the works of, we have read so many works like Rousseau, Goethe, and even if you remember the William Wordsworth, those who have, they all have dwelled into sustaining capacity of memory for the tormented selves. In the present world, memory, as we generally say, is both the cultural and individual memory bridged together. And it is through that only that the writers produced literature. Memory in literature is written in the form of that which has occurred or experienced. So we generally feel that a collection of memories and its accumulation give rise to what we know as nostalgia. Nostalgia is, I quote, the very core of a human condition, a symptom. Show more content come out with sequence of narrative, projecting time and space of the narrator. Unquote. So we can say the memory is the central to the examination of one's personal identity, which is understood in terms of longing, desire, maybe it's of a lost home, a place, or a time, or you can say where we are with our loved ones. We have seen there are lots and lots of studies where we can see you can say the narratives are written through memories for the exiled or the displacement, lost of beloved, a kind of nostalgia, which is the suffering caused by an unappeased yearning to return. We can also say that for our own identity, the memories are surfaced and they are penned down as literature. Memories come from the historical past also, and they can also be part of the social, political, and religious events in the lives of the writer. Memory is employed in all distinct fashions. It can be the text, it can be the time, it can be the narrative tone of the writer. If you remember, we have read the earliest written epic works established memory as the central literary theme. Homer's The Iliad and Virgil's The Aeneid served to establish the character and ideology of the Greek and Roman nations, respectively, through the blending of fictional elements with the recording of great men, heroic battles, and important long past events. It is here the use of the list of important historical figures is employed, not only to give the work authenticity through the presence of variable historical names and places, but also to convey a sense of historical memory to works that are primarily fictional in nature. Deliberately in crafting his work on the model of Homer's, we can see the Iliad and the Odyssey. Even Virgil constructs a national history of Rome, linking Augustus himself to the ancient world and thus enforcing his provenance to rule through the tales of Aeneas' journey from the ruins of Troy to the foundation of Rome. Virgil, however, takes memory further in the Aeneid, making use of the presence of events from Homer's work. He expands on the theme through the instances of Aeneas' dalliance with Dido. We all have read Chaucer also, and we feel that he is an excellent example of this. And his excellent example is the Canterbury Tales, in which assorted travelers on pilgrims to the shrine of Thomas E. Becket at Canterbury Cathedral stop at an inn and conduct a storytelling contest. In this work, Chaucer not only creates a fictional cross-section of British society in his time, but does so by having each of his traveler tell his or her story in a literary genre suited to his or her station in life. When we come to the British Romantics period, we have the famous poem of William Wordsworth, lines composed a few miles above Tinton Abbey, which is widely acknowledged as the work that ushered in the Romantic movement. As the narrator returns to a spot he visited earlier, he is swept away by the change in the abbey and himself. And he is delighted to see the eternal quality of the countryside. And he remembers how he used to play in that particular area. The inclusion of personal memory in form of nostalgia married to collective memory in the public form of the abbey itself demonstrates the power of memory to evoke strong emotions. So we can see that writers have used memory to produce literature. Another case is of John Keats. He has used this both individual and collective memory in his Ode to a Grecian Urn, in which he observes the eternal images painted on an ancient vase, constructs stories about them derived from his knowledge of ancient culture, and simultaneously consider his own eternal pace in time. His recollection of history fused with his own mortality rendered the poem highly emotional. Rather than using memory to underscore textual legitimacy or to convey national ideology, the Romantics we can see from others also, from Coleridge and other Blake and all, they employed it to evoke nostalgia and to highlight personal conflicts in the search for identity. Time and space in literature. We can see that all the stories, they have taken place in time and they all relate or narrate. If we take up the autobiographical stances of many writers, we see that they have dealt with time. They have shown the passage of time, and which also allows us to move around, make an image of in our mind about the time which they had occurred. We can see that the time has always been the theme of literature, and it has been, you can say, has a very potential subject in it. And we can see that sometimes the author is using what he has been trying to say, what he wants his work to be written, when he wants it to be published, when he wants it to be narrated, what time of narration has been done in that, and when the story is taking place. So we can see that the whole literature has time and space being engraved in their literary time. Narratives in literature. This is my main focus today. That is, whatever we have written for within the last, you can say, now we are very much attuned with the different writings. And we can say that whatever critical text or studies we have done, we have seen that the concept of memory has multiplied. People are now taking this memory as a literary honor, and they rely on their memory to write their writing pieces like memoirs, travelogues, autobiographies, biographies, which have a connection with each other and especially with time and memory. We have, I want to quote Lane Ligmore. She says that, I quote, memory writing has become the honor in the skittish period around the turn of the millennium. We have now been so much, we want people to know what we have suffered, what all traumas we have undergone, or how much happiness we have seen the world around. It has to be something which has got, which is always pent up in the writer, which is being projected through their writings. If we look into the women literature, we see it reveals that memory and its articulation through narrative in both autobiographical and fictional writings can shape the stories authors tell and in turn provide opportunities for resistance to oppression. Since narrative provides a means to communicate memory, it is primary way that autobiographical memory is recorded. Both autobiographical or fiction can act, as Suzanne Nelbetin term says, it's when you are converting your memory into narratives, it's like, I quote, a laboratory for the workings of the mind, unquote. It is in the literature that we examine both the workings of memory and the way that author uses concepts of memory in their works to demonstrate memory's dynamics and changing nature, as well as its power as tool for resistance. So we can say memory plays a very dominant role in literature, wherein the time and narratives, they also go side by side in coming out with the output, that is the results. Memory is the natural subject of all novels, since the author composes from the from their own experiences, and also it forms the genre of nostalgia, of ruminating in the past. Sometimes we can say they are concerned reflecting on the malleability, plasticity, and endurance of memory also. When we read Tony Webster in Julian Barnes, The Sense of an Ending, we see that how he has, you can say, projected the traumas of his school years, noting that we all live with the assumption that memory equals events plus time. But it's all much older than this. Who was it that said that memory is what we thought we had forgotten? And it ought to be obvious to us that time doesn't act as a fixative, rather than it acts as a solvent. So we can see that we are always, there are always this literary pieces are the shadow versions of memory. All are being what have been remembered, what have been forgotten, and we are haunted by those small glimpses of happiness, sorrows, pains, and traumas. And those things, they are written down. While writing, the author uses those experiences, those emotions, and those memories while penning down their literary pieces. When we speak about George Louis Bures, she says that in his very short story, I said, Funes the Memorious, he is dealing with the friendship with a very fictional Uruguayan boy who, after a horse riding accident, is incapable of forgetting a single detail of his life. He can remember, I quote the lines of that poem, ever crevasses and every molding of the various horses, as monumental as Browns. So see the things that what George says, that we are remembering, we are in the process of building a narrative for ourselves. And what we do is that we do not forget it. What we do is we pen it down. We try to very consciously put hyper details while penning our emotions, our memories. In this only I can say that women play a very vital role because they have experienced a lot many stages. They have, you can say, they play a very they play dynamic roles in the life of every human being, and that is the role which they have, from one shift to another, from a girl to a wife, from wife to a mother, from mother to a grandmother, and even now the working women and all. They are there is certain, you can say a certain shift is there, and that certain shift can be perceived while they write, while they are penning down, while they are writing their narratives. Women literature is an important field for studying the role of men and resistance, because in their memories they created an experience and they have resisted that memory. They have tried to, you can say, pinpoint as to how they felt. Since women histories and stories have traditionally been silenced within cultures dominant by patriarchal norms. Thus, women's stories of the past, they are accounts of their memories, and they become a vital record of personal or communal histories that otherwise may not be voiced or even acknowledged. The stories they tell of the past, the stories of memory in general, sometimes narrate histories of violence and terror. Sometimes they validate the memories of women's everyday experiences, and they give voice to those who have been traditionally silenced, providing resistance to dominant narratives and presenting new waves of conceiving of women's stories, memories, and identities. So we can say that there is always, we have to depend on the stories to share our identities, and women have, you can say, played a very important role in recollecting their memories and writing their narratives in it. So today, my focus especially is on how I can, I represent the autobiographical memories, the memories that make up the recollection of our lives, a complex tapestry that includes memories of specific moments and more general recollection of larger chunk of life, rather than other forms of memory that are semantic memories or procedural memories. I want to quote Jaspreet Jain in her book she wrote in Women Writings, Text and Context. She says, literature is a strong instrument for understanding society and interpreting the past. And women writing is a clear reflection of the age and society they lived in. Women writing was once ridiculed and rejected as inconsequential, but it is now becoming increasingly important. I unquote. So we can say an autobiography is a socio-historical book that reflects on the events and circumstances of its time. Women autobiographies tell us their own stories, offer a female perspective of the world, which is not highlighted by the other section of the society. While women voices have been absent in the terms of writing of history, women autobiographies fill in those gaps and present a fresh outlook on the world. If we read the Indian, you can say, we generally find that the earliest voices we can see from the pen, or you can the narratives of the women, is the wonderful anthology Unbound. It was edited by Annie Zedi. That reminds us the earliest written record of the breakaways, I will say, of those of Buddhist nuns from the Therigatha. Some of these poems were composed as early as the 6th century BC and are voices of those women who chose their spiritual inspiration above everything else. Advocates of the great tradition of ancient Hinduism, of course, like to the present Vedic characters such as the sages Gargi, Maitri, Lopamudra, are the first example of feminist liberals who actually existed, and they have written things. However, you won't be, means it is something that the Brahmins didn't help them out to be known to others, but still we, through the books, through the history, we come to know that these female writers, they were known, they were scholars, and they had the heart to voice out their views. It would be many more centuries before Indian women would start demanding and actually getting some literary agency. These were, of course, women outside the ambit of society who, after being cast off the weight of being a man's property, found their voices. The Bhakti movement, then we see Andal, Aka Mahadevi, then Mirabai in the 16th century. They are among who voiced what they knew, what they wanted the others to know. And though they were primarily devotional and directed towards God, but their poems reflect an autonomy of spirit in a society that expected only convention and obedience from them. In their rejection of conventional gender roles and attributes, they set the earliest examples of feminism in action. When we say about the fairy Muslim women, we can also say these narrative writers, they bandished their unique brand, and they shocked the whole nation at that time, and they told, some of the Mughal princes and queens lived on their own terms and left behind record for us to read, and we draw inspirations from. Like Gulbadan Begum in the 16th century, she was the first female historian in the Mughal court. Through her writing, she wrote about the life of her brother, Emperor Humayun, offers interesting perspectives on life within the Janana, and even mentions a lady's only Makkah too, and she associates went on. There are others also like Noor Jahan, Padshah Begum Janhara, Jeb Unnisa, too, who were great writers. And they also commissioned compositions and translations of great works at that time. And they one who voiced their, whatever memories they had, they picked up their pen and wrote it down. Fortunately, some of the, you can say, nowadays we have many more who have written or who have voiced out through the literary pieces. And the first trailblazer was Savitri Bai Phule. We all are aware of it, who is the pioneer of women education in India. Along with her husband, she first wrote her poetry reflecting her struggles and ideals, which were published as the compilation title Kava Phule and Bhavan Kashi Sudh Ratnakar. Another Maharashtra's glorious daughter, Pandita Ramabai, she also wrote and was very, you can say, a very great scholar. She married outside her community and caste, and she traveled throughout and outside the country. She established organizations wherein she made women to come out and to show or voice out their whatever feelings they had, their experiences. And her most memorable contribution is her book, High Caste Hindu Women. You can say that it has been still That book is 100 years old now, but still you can see, we can have an insight as to what the true Brahmin women had to live. So we can see that women autobiographies are revealing the stories that have been hidden from the public eye due to women's inability to speak for themselves. To paraphrase words, a stroll from the halls of Indian history where women have paused, lived, and internalized many role models will be incomplete without a stroll. So over 4,000 years, Indian women roles have been observed and understood in many forms. It is connected with the country's history, and literature is the vehicle of and a medium and a preserver, and you can say sometimes a betrayer of memory too. Just as our own recollections are more mosaic than mirror, because we have gathered them from small pieces that we have assembled as a narrative with a varying degree of success. So, to thus writing imposes order on one thing on then and after another. Far more than memorized lines and associating stanzas with room or any other, you can say, identity. Sometimes it can be fickle, sometimes it can be changing, sometimes it can be indeterminate or even reliable. But we have seen that fiction, non-fiction, poetry, prose, drama, essays, they all are built with the bricks of memory, but with the foundation set on wet sand. I said wet sand because we can see that many stories, they have been molded as per the whims and fancies of the society. So they do not cover what the reality is. So every women's autobiography has a domestic feel to it. When we go through the autobiographies, because we generally feel that memory is what the autobiography generally narrates to. They primarily wrote about their domestic responsibilities and personal lives. I can say some of from Sunita Devi's autobiography of an Indian princess. In 1921, it was written. They all means other also, Amrita Pritam, Rasidi Ticket, Kamla Das, My Story, Kamla Chattopadhyay, Inner Recesses, Outer Spaces, to Bamas, Karuku, Sangiti. In India, they have offered confessions of their private feelings as isolation, insecurity, loss of love, home, warmth in their relationship, and want of emotional moral support. So we can see they have tried to satisfy their urge for self-identity by writing autobiographies. They have tried to, you can say, explore the notion of boundaries. Ismat Chugdai, many Mahashweta Devi, Krishna Sokti, Kamla Markande. There are so many writers who have written down whatever they had in their memories. They have, that can be autobiographical, or you can say in a fictional form also they have written their autobiographies. They have explored the notion of boundaries, bodies, sexualities. These writers, they have negotiated their place in a new nation, still smarting from the fresh wound of partition, and placing selfhood before nationhood and convention. Their literary pieces are definite, you can say, defense and progressive, invariably drawing criticism. They have not been accepted as they have written. They have their own, can say, scale of rejections too. Some people, they have been opposed because of the violence they have used through their words and characters. Some they have used as witnesses. Some has been, you can say, being the truth tellers of the society. They have been made the sorry figures of the society. So we can see that women writers find some objects in their lives and career. And it happens to be the quest for the objective that motivates them to write autobiography. When Gayatri Devi Nanda, when she was writing the autobiography, An Indian Girl, which was published in 1950, she, you can say it was a went out frustration. It was a cry against the patriarchy. When you read Nayantara Segal's autobiography, Prison and Chocolate Cake, it's a record of her journalistic observations from family life to politics with all the minute details. So when we are writing, Kamini Devi Chattopadhyay, she has strongly mentioned about the suffering caused by the financial position of the women. Being a woman means, you can say, how they have suffered within the family, within their society, within their community. Sudha Majumdar, in a pattern of life, she has described how women were taught to suppress themselves, feel inferior, and sacrifice their choices by believing that it was a sin to disobey the father and husband. If you read The Scope of Happiness of Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, we feel, means we can see or we can visualize that how she has narrated Nehru's affluent lifestyle and dramatic changes brought in by the influence of Gandhi. Durgabai Deshmukh, who was a very, you can say, a very dynamic lady, a very bold and powerful woman. She also, in her memoirs, very successfully pens down how she has served her society and how her country has been, you can say, at the you can say brim of that particular area where the women were not hired for the jobs and all. There are many women writers who think about transforming society to be free from the rigid clutches of socio-cultural issues. They have chosen the problems and issues faced by the female section in this male-dominated world as the main theme of the novels. We have many males also, or you can say men writing about women. They have also given voice to women in their novels, in their poetries and all. When you talk about R.K. Narayan, you talk about Rabindranath Tagore and all. But especially I'm focusing on the women, female writers who have penned down what they had experienced through their memories and recollecting their experiences and traumas and all. Till today, women writings have contributed much to the expansion of literature and have presented issues highlighting women's world. Indian writers fiction means they have addressed multiple issues concerning self, memory, and society. The trap in a very socio-cultural milieu, women suffer inwardly. Hence, much of the women's writing is primarily a critique of social justice and equality in an exceedingly patriarchal society. Such autobiographies are valuable to study of the female psyche in interaction in different circumstances. The confectional mode, the personal tone authenticates them as the records of gender and honor constructed, traditional and non-traditional images of women. We can see how women writers portray the inner and outer lives of women with their vision of creative sources of life. Such autobiographies are important socio-historical documents showing how women have been both the victims and agents of social change, focusing on contemporary situations. Being urban and sophisticated and intellectually alert, some writers like Amrita Pritam, Indra Goswami, Kamla Das, you have Kiran Desai, Majumdar, they all have, it means they have been very much, you can say, reflected their own society. But we have also the poor and low class background, Savitri Phule, you can say Bama and all, who have given insight of their society too. They have been very innovative, experimental, confectional, and realistic also in their creative efforts. And they have, you can say, free from the narrow division of caste, region, race, gender, and language. Whatever they had in their memories, they have, you can say, voiced it. Their literary skills helps them to depict the encounters between an individual self and the world. These writers are the women who have recorded their experiences in the spirit of objective and academic impulse for self-expression. These women are excellent, innovative writers with full-fledged careers and historical life events. So we can say the root cause of writing an autobiography occurs when a person desires to express the unexpected, disillusioned, and the circumstances which arise in their personal life, like own self-related or issues related to other human beings. So when we see these writers like Smriti Chitra in her memoirs of a spirited life, she was from a Brahmin family, and at a very young age she was married to Narayan Vaman Tilak, who was a very famous poet. And first she means how she encountered many challenges, how she faced that she was not able to tell her husband what she wanted to say. She gradually, you can say, she was culturally attuned to follow her husband. But she learned what her husband was reading and writing. And when she grew up, whatever challenges she had faced with her husband conversion to Christianity, and then their separation for 5 years, and after his, you can say, when he accepted Christianity, he was able to give a bit of equality to Smriti Chitra, and there where she found voice to write something. This is where he helped her, and she became, and she started, you can say, narrating her own memoirs, whatever she had gone through her book, The Memoirs of a Spirited Wife. So we can see that people, you can, until and unless you are given a platform, it's very difficult for a woman to voice out what she feels about. The Weave of My Life, a Dalit women's memoir. Urmila Pawar, we all have read, and we all know that it is not an individual narrative. When she started recollecting, when she started weaving together what all things or whatever memories she had, whatever experience she had, she felt that she was not alone in that particular space. She had other women also. So what she did was she weaved them also. And it was not you can say, an individual memory. It was a collective memory where she speaks about the issues and oppression faced by the community based on the caste and gender. So we can see that she felt she had the power to say something, and it was accepted by her community. And that is why she got the platform to get it published. And when we read her, you can say, her autobiography, we feel that we are really taken aback as to how they had suffered at the hands of the high caste. So this literature is a representation not only of the Dalit community, but also to the food, to the culture, to the, you can say, the customs followed within the community and outside the community, how they were neglected, how they were shunned away from the society. There is one more also, a life less ordinary by Baby Halda. Urvashi Butalia translated it for us to read aloud. Means every person can read it. So here also we have a very, you can say, very sentimental life story where they were left alone by their parents. Her father did not pay attention to her and her sister, how they had to manage their own home. And at the young age of 12, she was married off. Later, she became a mother at 14. So how the instability in her life made her struggle, made her, you can say, find work and to sustain herself, not only as a mother, but also as a woman. So the struggles, the experiences, the traumas which she faced, that has been noted down in her book, A Life Less Ordinary. It is something very, you can say, she was fortunate enough that she could memorize, she could recollect what she had gone through. And whatever the brunt of violence and you can say shunning of the society was done to them, she could bring back and she could write in her autobiography. So we can say that it was an honest narration, and it was taken on by everybody, and people came to know that how females are being you can say made to work, how they are shunned from society, how they are not, those domestic helps which they take, which are being used in our houses, they have a very which type of life they have. Amrita Pritam, a very known person. See, when we read about Amrita's Pritam's, the revenue stamp or the Rasidi ticket, the quest for Amrita Pritam made her to stroll in the ways of innovativeness, the experience of dreams and illusions, contrary to the reality of life. So what she has done is she has intermingled her dreams, reality, and illusions. She has experienced various psychological and emotional circumstances in her life. She analyzed her autobiographies in a thematic and semantic way. Amrita Pritam revenue stamp is an extraordinary example of an indulgent and pensive interpretation of her life. In this autobiography, her focus was on childhood and youth, love, social ethos, marriage, private self, womanhood, and a poetic version. In this, she discloses an uncommon sense of self-analysis with no conscious regard for the criteria of social and moral judgment. It is an analysis of a sensitive woman who finds difficulty in talking and writing about love and her life in love. But she has a stronger sense in touch with life, and she says in one of her interviews, I quote, "Abstractions have no meaning for me. Each entity must take on some sort of shape or form that I can touch, that in fact can thrill me with a touch," unquote. Her love for Sahir was at its peak that time when she was writing this literary piece, and she was not able to control or express even in, you can say many a times when she used to write it on a sheet of paper, her memories, her, you can say her dreams, her illusions, she was not able to write it. She hoped that maybe after her death, she'll be able to write. She recalls her relationship's purity. In her response to Sahir's passing, when he passed away, she reviews her relationship and she appreciated it. I quote, "Our friendships don't care for words. In silence, it was a lovely relationship. There's even today the dignity of a blank paper," unquote. In her autobiography, she made many confessions very candidly. She does not say about you when you read this autobiography. She doesn't say about her kids, her introduction to the world, her adolescence or development. She specifies that parenthood was an earned dream for her and reviews her. She crawled for an infant until she was conceived. She specifies her wish that her kid's charming face should resemble her most favorable love as envisioned by her inside. So we can see that in this literary world, which has been portrayed by the Amrita's inner voice, it's portrayed women's self-struggle internally as well externally by rejection of the contemporary writers. Amrita Pritam holds autobiography as a writer's instrument to achieve, I quote, the fundamental truth that the writer's own needs are, and an ongoing process leading from reality to reality, unquote. From her, you can say, her succession from the existing interpretation of her materialism in the revenue stamp to her conceptual performance of her spirituality and the shadows of word depicts the evolution of her consciousness in a thoughtful manner, how she evolved, how her memories got systematized. So it proves that her rebellious nature was rooted in the sense of discontent, disillusionment, and disabling circumstances. In her prologue to the Rasidi ticket, she declares that the entire book, I quote, the entire book's texture is threaded by my personal feelings. My female agony has been opened and she feels everybody agrees to the same feeling when they read it. So it is, when you read this revenue stem, you can feel an intense experience of searching for the truth, a reflective journey, sorry, a reflective journey of her life, how she has done, and she has made it, you can say, an experience for others too. And then it's an you can opportunity in satisfying her impulse for truth. When we take upon another from the, you can say, the Northeast, Tamsula Ao, I'm very fortunate that I met her in one of the conferences, and a very down-to-earth lady who, you can say, spoke on that day also what the life of Assam people is, especially those who are on the outskirts of, you can say, Northeast, and what they have. In her autobiographical Once Upon a Life, Burnt Curry and Bloody Rags, she has given, you can say, a very happy, whatever happy childhood she had was ripped apart when she had, when both her parents passed away, and all her 5 sisters and she were left orphan. How they had to go to the boarding school, the impact of Christian missionaries they had in their life, how they had to revive back, they had to come back to their roots, how they have to make from their, you can say, from the obstacles or from the hardships of poverty to back to the mainstream. She has beautifully penned down that what all she went through. She said she used to sell off things which were of minor importance to common people, but they had huge importance for in her life. She used to sell the burnt curry is basically that she used to sell fruits and vegetables and all, and she was all in rags, but people used to buy from her, and this is how she started along with her sister some amount of money, and they starting also. They always had an, you can say, in the background in their mind that they had to return back to their roots and do something. For them, religion was just in the namesake. It was the life which was more important, the family was more important, and the way they had in whatever hardships they had, the traumas which they suffered throughout their life until they became a successful human beings. They went on working, and this is what is all about in this Temsula. Another book of Indra Goswami. When we read this Indra Goswami unfinished autobiography, we have a glimpse of, means that the whole book is divided into 3 sections, and it gives us the voice of the Indra Goswamis from the personal life of depression that had transformed her, and she was, you can say, she became very vulnerable, she was very much scared. But as she grew up, she's, you can say, when you read her unfinished biography, we'll see that there are many instances when she had the suicidal attempts also. She made suicidal attempts also. But every time because of her family, she used to come out and she started penning down whatever thoughts she used to occur in her mind. And those thoughts or those poems and those helped her to move ahead. When she met, this whole thing is that when she met her husband, the life had become totally different. For 1.5 years, she had a married life, and that memory of 1.5 years with her husband was what made her write not only this unfinished autobiography, but other writings too, where she has always penned down her memories, her experiences, and what she had felt throughout her life. This book is in 3, you can say, in 3 sections, and these sections are Life If No Bargain. That is the first part, where the youth has been given, and how, you can say, at the end we see that her husband passed away. Then how the second part is the Down the Memory Lane, which gives us an insight. It's, you can say, there are flashbacks from her youth also, from the present situation also, and she keeps herself busy to avoid being, again, you can say, brought back in the deep depression. So she used to engage herself, she used to write a lot, so that whatever feelings are there, she doesn't being swayed away from that, she's being swayed away from those emotions. And the last part is the City of God, when she was a widow, and when her teacher wanted her to visit Vrindavan and all, while writing her PhD thesis. That part of life has been shown. She says, like I was a widow, my life was quite different from the life of the widows, which I witnessed in the Vrindavan, and how she has taken into account that what I felt, these these women also must be feeling. And so she has given voice to those people, how they were, you can say, bribed, how they were, can say, exploited by the pundits, by the higher class, and how they led their life in those silences where nobody could hear them. So we can see that there is a very, you can say, a very vast scope which she has taken up from her childhood to the place where she felt that this was the where she has at least reached a salvation, and she had got peace in her mind, that people are all suffering, there is agony everywhere. It's an unfinished autobiography because she felt that this was a stage where she need to stop her memories and move ahead. Later, she became a professor in Delhi University. When later on, when she passed away, she still was writing for the sufferings of not only widows, but also the people Northeast who were fighting for their cause. We have all read Kamla Das, My Story. I won't, you can say, It's a feminist, you can say, who has um, broken down all, who has gone through, suffered many psychological, emotional circumstances, like Amrita Pritam, I can say. Her incomplete quest for true love forced her to transform to extremities, like her writing journey from the physical to sensational, as well as religious to spiritual. Kamala Das, my story is purely autobiographical writing, and through this verbal mode of communication, she opposed the patriarchy and attained a deep sense of peace and self-justice. Kamala Das is one of the largest poet, a larger poet of the century, that who says that um, her own life, she depicts her own life, and she says that there is a young woman younger than her husband, and how her education was not so formally educated, but her literary background is never more significant than the formation of formalities. And we can, while reading, she represents the difficulty of a woman in the patriarchal society brought up in India, and it shows the growth from the childhood to adult camp, and its marginalized status to empowerment, and the experience of a female writers. Also, we can see it. Also, we can bear the witness of it. So when people have read this book, it's generally said that it is a journey between needles, the margins, and the mainstream, between the individual and the public people, from objects to objects, from importance to authority, from tradition to modernity. In short, a journey towards women empowerment by using the metaphor of authority, that is pen. So we can say that she shares very, you can say, how she was a victim of patriarchy. She has used the voice in a contextual tone, and how they have been abandoned by, how she has been abandoned by her husband, and but she had a remarkable love for her own children, and she had both the nervous and societal tendencies. So we can say that while reading this literary piece, as Wordsworth once said, poetry is a spontaneous flood of strong sentiments. Kamala Das embodies this pronouncement and releases a series of emotions that find a place not only in her poetic works, but in her short story and in her novels. So we can say she has selected words and language from her memory, and they are unique in their manner and their life. And she has, you can say, colored her experiences and her life events in such a manner that we feel there are visual images while reading her novels and stories. One more is there, Tone from the Roots, a partition memo, Kamla Patel. I won't go, I think I've taken too much time. I'll just say that this particular is how the people of India, while we were partitioned as India and Pakistan, what people have gone through, especially the people or the women from Amritsar, Lahore and Jalandhar, what trauma, what experience they had felt, how means how they were subjected to you can say, shunning away, how they were not only taken up as the outsiders, as the marginalized persons, but also how they could not take in what they wanted to say, and how the mainstream did not accept it. And these are the short stories, but they are, you can say, anecdotes of many writers which have been women which have been collected, and which she too experienced at the site when at the time of you can say, the partition, the harsh realities which they had faced. The prisons we broke is, you can say, the Dalit community person, female writer. She has given a Mahar community, and when you read the prisons we broke, it's you can say, when you read them, you really feel that how they had gone through such traumas and how they were made, you can say, made to eat food, made to, you can say, um, live a life which was, which we can never imagine in our own society, and which we can even at this stage we can never ever think of. So when these people, they were not only this particular, you can say, they were not only outcasted from their own, from the whole society, but from their own society also they were marginalized. They were the others, and they had a life in which they had no voice to voice out. And how they had, it's beautifully penned down, and this literary piece gives us an insight about the life of Marathi culture, especially the communities where the Mahar communities, how they had to undergo the pressures of the high class and even the other communities too. Then Bama and Sangati, these are the two, you can say, well-known writings of Kuruku, and Sangati are the two writings of Bama. And when you read these two, they deal with that how people, they have moved from one religion to another in to find solace. But there also we feel that they are marginalized, being as they are from the coming from the other community, and they have accepted, so they are inferior to the community which already existed. So what all they had faced, Bama, when she was she had shifted and became a Catholic, she felt that at least in Christianity she'll be given equality. But as we read Kuruku, we come to know that still she faced the same challenges she had faced in her previous life. But still she says that, yes, I was accepted, I learned a lot, and I thought that being a woman, there is always, you can say, there's always a new experience, and that experience she has written that being a Dalit, then next is a being a Christian and a being a woman, they all are together bridged here, and they tell us that experience of women can never be different, though she can change whatever identity she takes. So it's type of a self-reflection which she goes through. My last book, I should say, is A Life Apart. It is again from a Marwari family. See, we generally feel that every society has different layers of living. So when we look at the Marwari families, where we have seen the Punjabi, then we have seen the Northeast people. Then if we see the Marwari people, they are generally the people who have money, they are very materialistic. But here also, the voice of the women is not heard. And Prabha Khetan, she has beautifully means how she, being a Marwari, she started her own business, how she became a very single and independent woman, which was very much rare and very much unique, but how she lived her life at her own, you can say, her judgment. She became a mistress of a married person, but she was happy that at least she lived a life of freedom, of independence. And she was not shackled down by the, you can say, the society clutches. Her whole thing is very much clear. When you read A Life Apart, you can see that it's so clear that she wants to tell us that life is what you want to live. You cannot say that this life is good or bad. Both life has to have its own experiences, and this is what she had gone through, and she has written it down. So we can say that when we take about in the end, I would say that when we take about autobiography, we can say that autobiography is a channel for women writers. And what they do is they walk down the memory lane, they recapitulate the process of psychological growth and the development of personality and character. They all start writing an autobiography to fulfill their need for expression. The investigation of autobiography is an act of writing down the life story which began with writer's ideology, life experiences, and personality. It moves on with choices, selection of events, a series of expressions or experiences, and analysis done by the author. These autobiographies, which I have just now told you in detail, they help to unravel the dark recesses of their beings. So we can say that women writings are, you can, especially the autobiographical writings, are the chronicles of her journey from the feminine to feminist self, and then her final transformation into female self. It tracks her transformation from the self-destructive event to a resolute, self-ruling individual. Their work reveals the altered self of an author who was purified by the dreadful fire of the life setbacks which they had undergone, which they had met. It is also clear that these women writers had the guts to shake their stereotype patterns and decide to lead their lives according to their views. We can say that for them, life was religion and love was their life. So we can say, circling back from the beginning, when we met famous and sometimes failures women's, we can also say that in today's life too, there are many faceless writers of Twitters, blogs, and social media who fight the daily fight against the raging fire of discrimination with their hosepipe of courage, erudition, wit, sympathy, empathy, sisterhood, and sometimes sarcasm too. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. My tongue can't express how wonderful it has been throughout the session. Before we invite our chairperson of the session, there are a few questions I can see, and the whole chat box is full of applauses. Round of applause. Kudos to your presentation, actually, ma'am. It has really been an wonderful deliberation. So the first question I can see from Pushpa Puwamma. She writes, is life narratives, memory, and time the basic elements in autobiographical research? I repeat, is life narratives, memory, and time the basic elements in autobiographical research? Ma'am.
Pushpa ma'am, it is true. See, that is autobiographical researchers, they do tend to voice out what they have experienced. So when whatever you have experienced, they are unconsciously in our memory. And the time frame is also there because we know at what time we have experienced that thing. So the life narratives do, they are not only the basic elements, they are the main framework of autobiographical researches.
Thank you, ma'am. There is another question, I found it. But
the same is again from the Pushpa ma'am. I'll take
yeah,
it.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What does memory as resistance in contemporary women's
literature reveal? Yeah.
See, See, if you take up women's literature, obviously what they have undergone their trauma, the experiences, whether they are, you can say the hardships which they have gone, or whether the change of lifestyle they have gone. This is all what there is there. But in memory, there is always a resistance. Yes, because they are resisting something, that is where their literary piece come in. They pen down what they are feeling, what they feel, this is good or bad. This is where the contemporary literature is telling us that there is always a memory resisting us to move ahead.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. It is not such that you only have to write in the chat box. You can also unmute yourself and ask questions directly to the speaker also. So in between this, I would like to read a comment for the speaker, for our today's speaker from RTB. It actually fascinates me that RTB likes the entire presentation as it is filled with information, details, and topics related to research, and to search the unsearched and touch the untouched areas of the text. Research for research's sake must be kept aside, and one must enjoy the hidden beauty of literature. So this is a very wonderful comment I can see.
Thank you for this beautiful comment. But there's one more question of file, ma'am. Memory is also related to forgetting. Can you talk
Yes,
about forgetting as a device used by writers and highlight if this device is used purposely and why
or
not?
why not? Yes.
Uh-huh. It is, see, everyone has got that particular space for herself or himself. We all tend to forget what we don't need to revive it. So memory sometimes is have this glitches also, forgetting something. Maybe while writing something, we tend to highlight those points where we feel that people will feel pity on us, or whether we can voice more strongly against it. We can resist more strongly. So we tend to forget, and it plays a very dominant role that yes, sometimes they are used purposely by the writers, that we forget some very dominant episodes of their life. Sometimes they do highlight what they feel is important. I think.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So if anyone is there to ask questions directly to the speaker,
TB has written.
if yeah.
Hello, hello, ma'am. I'm Pooma again. I must congratulate you. It was a beautiful presentation, and thank you for giving me the explanation also. But at the same time, as you were talking about, I was drawn towards Sashi Deshpande's "The Dark Holds No Terror," where Sarita, she is a doctor daytime, and in the night, like a fear-stricken animal in the house. So there's a quest for identity in her, self-exploration and things of that kind. So that narrative was something that was kind of, I was hoping that you would talk about Sashi Deshpande also.
See, when you read Sashi Deshpande, I've read this book and novel and all other, means I was fascinated by her short stories more because they had the mythological touch. What I feel is Sashi Deshpande has given, see, every female or every writer, I won't say female only, all the writers, they have, whatever they had experiences, what they have seen around is being, you can say, equipped in their characters. The characterization is based on the experiences of the writers. They are not in isolation. Everybody moves around whatever they have felt. So basically, I focused on the autobiography because memories play a very important role. And when you are writing the time and the narratives, you tend to make it in a very systematic presentation, though you sometimes have flashback or a stream of unconsciousness also, but still you try to narrate as you experienced, like from the childhood to the adulthood. So this is what I have taken upon. Memory plays everywhere. Whatever we are speaking just now also, because we have read the books of so many good writers, that is why we could experience, we could visualize what they had felt.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I can take up, I think we have here, Murli sir's one first question is of RTB only. Is resistance because of being marginalized or because of waiting for the right time to reach the right people? See, it's both. For a female, the right time is also very important, and she is marginalized in many communities. Though if you feel that in today's society everybody is considered equal, it's true in some sense, but still if you see many working ladies, many ladies who are working also, still they don't have any voice, they don't have any say in their household. It's really a traumatic scene which you see. So it is something that, yes, women, when they are writing their autobiographies, they had the right time and the right approach, so they could get the platform and voice what they had been silenced till date. Okay. Murli Krishnan sir has asked, regarding this theme, can one say that it is a pan-Indian phenomenon? Yes, sir. It is something, yeah, we can say that from north to south, from east to west, everywhere, if you see, the women are still marginalized a lot. We need to, and these autobiographies, they really give us, or they project what had been witnessed by few people, but it's a common commodity, it's a common memory of many, right, many women, females who have undergone those experiences. Thank you, sir. Atwood and in Alice Grace, yes. See, we have, you can say, hundreds and thousands of writings on autobiographical stance. I've taken only few just to give that memory plays a very dominant role along with time and narratives in their autobiographical writings. That is all.
Thank you, ma'am. So I think we have enough of questions session. Actually, we are running short of time also. So now it's time to invite our respected chairperson of today's session, Dr. Sabrin Ahmed, ma'am. Dr. Sabrin Ahmed has received her PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Currently, she teaches in the Department of English, Nowgong College, Autonomous, Nowgong, Assam, as an assistant professor. Her recent edited book is entitled Interface, Language, Ecology, and Gender in Northeast India, published in 2021. She has published an anthology of poems entitled Soliloquies, and also writes short stories, articles, and book reviews for several regions. So over to you, ma'am. I welcome you for to this session also, and I invite you to have some comments and observations. Over to you, ma'am.
Respected Ghansham sir, respected Pramod Dingle sir, respected resource person and today's speaker, Kshamata Chaudhary ma'am, and our master of ceremonies, Nurul Huda, and all the august audience present in today's 106th Sahityak Satsang. Well, our resource person has indeed taken us, deep into the entire structure of memory, time, and narratives in women's writing. She has started from British writers' use of memory, and then she has come down the line to our own country, touching from the north to the south, from east to the entire northeast, and also she has talked about Muslim women and Dalit women. She has, in fact, covered the entire panorama of women's writing and how autobiographical memory is very crucial to the idea of life writings or women writings in the context of today's lecture. Actually, the topic that has been taken up today is indeed vast, and it's, I mean, and I congratulate ma'am that she has, within this short span of 1 hour, she has covered so many things. In short, I would just like to comment on a few things. When we talk about narratives, actually narratives have traditionally been understood as key meaning-making cultural tools through which past, present, and future can be meaningfully articulated. Nostalgia is understood as a backward-looking hope and has a strong parallel with what Walter Benjamin calls the autobiographical quest for the lost future. So in this regard, the loss of memory is also crucial in putting down the narratives. And Freud speaks about the timelessness of our psychological life, and Marcel Proust speaks of the gift of involuntary memory as the essence of the past, which is very reflective in the narrative experiences that are jotted down by the pen. So memory sometimes works as a therapy in the writing process for especially the women writers. And I once again congratulate ma'am for taking down such a vast topic and putting it forward in a very succinct and enriching manner to the audience out here. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Now, I would like to invite Professor Payal Datta Chaudhary, ma'am, the Joint Secretary of iSPELL, for the concluding remark and the presentation of certificates. Ma'am, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nurul Huda. I think the best thing about iSPELL SSS every Sunday evening is the timeliness of the topics, which I found in today's speaker's choice of topic. She spoke, as the chairperson said, on a very vast area, about time and memory in various kinds of narratives. As the chairperson said, it's a very Herculean task to probably narrow down on an area like that. But indeed, Dr. Kshamata Chaudhary did, complete justice to this particular topic, because here the very purpose of this Sahitya Satsang is to, to probably make people think more and more about this kind of areas, and so that research can take place. When Dr. Kshamata was talking about memory, when she was talking about time, and she reflected on various genres of literature, she spoke about autobiographies, biographies, fiction from various parts of the world. What really struck me is that there is so much of work which is taking place at present on memory, the various kinds of memory that as researchers, as lover of literatures, probably we should think about coming from, thinking about out of the box things about memory. When I heard so much which was spoken about, the various kinds of memory that we would like to probably keep intact, probably from the marginalized section, women or Dalit and all that. I was just thinking somewhere that can we think about what kind of a memory a person who's suffering from dementia will have probably. That kind of a thought really struck me. I was thinking that, memory is not a linear kind of a thing. Memory is very non-linear. So probably, people who listen to this kind of talks will be, motivated to think about research on this kind of areas, untouched areas about cultural memory. There are so many memory archives which are taking place, which are coming up in India as well, partition memory archives, or probably when we talk about material memory, like letters and things like that, which are becoming very important in today's time. So as usual, today's session also has been fruitful because a seed has been planted in our minds by Dr. Kshamata, and as well as the chairperson who has given her own comments on that. And that makes people like us who are lovers of literature, who are lovers of various kinds of texts, to go back and think that whatever has been planted in our mind, can we take it forward? So with that, my heartiest compliments to the speaker for today, Dr. Kshamata, the chairperson, Dr. Sabrina Ahmed, and as usual, the MC Nurul always does his best. With that, a hearty congratulations to the entire iSPELL team for taking up this noble cause in the in the going forward of literature, going forward of different kinds of topics, making research a part and parcel of our life every week. With this, when the session is coming to an end, I would like to request Pramod sir to please present the the certificates in front of us. This one goes to Dr. Kshamata Chaudhary for enlightening us on the topic. Hearty congratulations, Dr. Kshamata, and thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the honors.
Thank you. This one goes to Dr. Sabrina Ahmed, the chairperson for the day. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your remarks.
Thank you so much for the honor.
This goes to Mr. Nurul Huda for beautifully connecting all the dots all throughout the presentation. Thank you so much, Nurul.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. It was a wonderful journey with you all.
Thank you. This should be the next Sahitya Satsang's flyer. We see that our Joint Secretary Dr. Murli Krishnan session would be there on effective use of multicultural text within classroom environment. On behalf of the entire iSPELL team, I invite everybody to be a part of the session. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, a very heartfelt thank you to Pramod sir for being there, and he is our IT coordinator for helping us out all throughout the session. Thank you to the entire iSPELL team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.